Come on, little tablet. There we go. Everything's working right now. All right, guys. So we are live. We'll give
Okay.
everybody a few minutes to come in. You look beautiful, Miss Jimmie.
Oh, thank you. I really am very self-conscious, so
Well, don't be. You look gorgeous.
oh well, thank you. I appreciate it.
So, to the audience, this is Jimmie Staley. Tonight, she's going to be talking to us about Jadekiss McNeal. If you haven't had a chance to familiarize yourself with Jadakiss's story, you can go into the playlists on my channel. I will also pin it at the top of the comments here shortly. And there's a playlist that kind of goes in chronological order from when Jada was first reported missing. There's also a video that I'm going to add that came out before Jada went missing, coming up to Christmas, so that you can familiarize yourself with the case, get an idea of the timeline and what kind of went on in this case. This is Jimmie Staley. She is one of the people who is active in investigating and helping to research on this case and to try to find Jada. She is very well versed in it. She's been a part of this case nearly from the beginning, correct?
I probably 3 or 4 years so far, but yeah, it seems like from the
Okay.
beginning.
All right. And we also have Sleuth Mom tonight. Sleuth Mom is pretty much going to run the show and direct the interview because we all love Sleuth Mom and I always
Mhm.
love having her on the channel. And so we're going to get started.
Sounds good.
Jimmie, if you could start out, please, by kind of telling us just leading up to Jada disappearing with the pay it forward thing, and then you and Sleuth can take it over from there.
Okay. The I've been focusing on corruption in the Panhandle for a little while, and there seems to be a weird sort of relationship between parents of missing children and the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. And by interesting, I mean non existent. Um, they don't seem to handle looking for these children properly, and that's always kind of been something I was intrigued by and trying to figure out what all of it means working hand in hand. When I got a call from a source who used to work for a news agency down there um, in Pensacola, and she had gotten a call from another source of hers in Miami. It seems that there was a law enforcement agent um, in the Miami-Dade Police Department who had contacted Escambia County because somebody they caught in a trap house, a sex trafficking house, um, claims to have seen Jadekiss and mentioned her by name and as well as described her and said she was alive in Miami as last he had talked to her, which would be a couple months before he made the tip. Um,
Wow, that is huge.
exactly, and he was in that field, everything lined up that if she was truly being trafficked, this guy would know, and um, so they called the Escambia County Sheriff's Office and they said, "Look, we've got this guy here, and he just said this and this and this, and we just figured you guys might want to come down here and interview him, talk to him, see what he knows, see how logical it is." Well, the officer, the detective, said, "No, I'm sorry, we're not interested in making that kind of a trip. We're not really concerned about it. We don't think that's a legitimate tip." But then a couple of days later, he calls back and he asks the same deputies in Miami-Dade for the original copy of this guy's paperwork. Like his statement about Jadekiss. They wanted the original, no copies, to be sent to them. And the deputy or detective in Miami-Dade just, number one, they weren't interested. That's ridiculous. Number two, they want original copies of what? I mean, why? Why can't a copy suffice? And red flags were going up everywhere. Well, jump ahead to 2 years later, this LEO down in Miami-Dade finds out that nobody's actually done anything in Escambia regarding this tip.
That's insane. And so a legitimate tip came in to
Yes.
police saying that she could be out there basically being sex
Mhm.
trafficked,
Absolutely.
and they're not even looking into it.
No, I mean, this tip was actually in the file. I talked to a high member of the administration, high up in the administration. He told me, he goes, yes, there is a note about this tip. Yes, it is 2 years old. No, nobody did anything. And
Why? So okay, so you had said that Escambia County, like this is a pattern with them,
yes,
that
yes,
they do not investigate
young
missing
girls,
children. Okay.
young
Do
girls
you,
specifically.
in your research in that, have you found like a connection with certain officers, or is it just in general the entire department basically?
It's the entire department. Although a few years back in 2015, we found that a EMT and her husband were having sex with the sheriff of Escambia County in a swingers group, and had brought their, at the time, 15-year-old daughter into their bedroom.
Oh my gosh.
And nothing ever happened. A couple of the deputies that were there among that evidently got fired. They were both prosecuted. One was incarcerated and one was acquitted. But the sheriff was in the middle of this with this kind of sex ring. So this is the pattern of behavior that we're seeing with, and there's been a few others since
I
this
mean,
that
that
were,
really sets
yeah,
the standard for their expectations for sure.
absolutely. I mean, when you have the head of your agency saying he was naked in a hotel room with this family, um, come on, just the fact that the girls can, because it was a daughter and her twin sister, they could identify, I think it was 5 or 6 different deputies that had been having sex with them.
Okay. Okay, so
And
before you continue, someone in the chat wants to know exactly how you're related to this case. Are you an officer, a PI, or just an investigator? Like,
okay,
what is your official title?
my official title is Worried Mom. I've been blogging about the different victims of corruption in that area. There seems to be a pandemic that is much more serious than COVID in that area of missing children and no one looking for them. Um, and I've been writing about these different cases. Not all of them involve kids, but just the different backlash of corruption. Where most people think that's a victimless crime. It really is not, because somebody gets slighted so somebody else can get ahead. Um, and so there's always a victim. And, I've talked to deputies that have worked for the agency for 25 years. They get fired because they question things. Um,
And that's sad.
it is. And so when this came to me, I was able to contact one of the higher ups in the administration that I had forged a relationship with, and he was able to tell me, yes, that was the case. And while he oversaw the follow up of that lead 2 years late, nothing was ever done to the men that declined to hear it. They still have jobs today.
Wow. Wow, that's disturbing.
It
I mean,
is.
that shouldn't be at all.
I mean, but you have all these different girls in the area that have gone missing. In fact, one of them went missing in 1990, November of 92. And it was somebody I had gone to high school with, and they still haven't found her. Her mother and I had talked, again, very little interest by the police to help them do anything. It just is a systemic thing. And unless the child actually turns up, somewhere else, nobody else does anything with these cases.
It's disturbing, and it's happening. I've noticed like Bakersfield, California is another hot area that
Mm-hmm.
happens in. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The kids go missing and they're just labeled runaway and nobody looks at
Exactly.
all. Period. And so who knows if these kids would actually be running away, or if there is just literally sex trafficking rings going on in these areas. And it's disturbing to think, the level of involvement that can be happening in those areas.
Absolutely. I mean, I started doing more research on that particular topic in that area because Escambia County is Pensacola. Pensacola Beach is there. You have a lot of traffic throughout the northern part of the Panhandle, going into South Florida, going out of South Florida. You have the Navy base. You just have a lot of different things going on, and you would expect to see a higher than normal sexual assault rate because of the transiency of the beach and all these people moving in and out of that area. Instead, you have basically a non-existent sexual assault rate, which is it's insane. But that's evidently, everybody is being discouraged from making a report. So if there's no reports, there's no sexual assault.
Right.
And
yeah, that makes sense.
And just like with this, Jadekiss, they claim that she wasn't reported missing in December, but rather, 3 months later. Well, there's proof that actually is not true. But, that's them putting it on the family instead of saying, okay, we understand, the family is really, really hurting about all this that's going on with their loved one, but, we can all work through this together. But that's not it. They become adversarial. The police go out there and they start hassling the family. And so, of course, you don't get cooperation. Of course, you don't get any kind of trust going on in those communities. And sadly enough, the Black community is one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
There was another case, Naomi Jones. I think it was 2017. It might have been 16 as well. Her mother was concerned about her, a very similar situation. And she goes down to the sheriff's department to make a missing persons report, like mothers do, right? And she goes down there and they look at her information. They start running her through the system, find that she's got a warrant for welfare violations, and puts her in jail. They don't take the report on the missing little girl. She calls Polly Kloss Kids from jail and starts them looking into her child. And you go to find out that a few days later they find her body, and she died within that time frame of when her mom went to the police and when they
my
took
gosh
it. Again,
that's awful. That's devastating. And that has to be so devastating for that mom to even have the thought, like, could I have saved her? Could they have saved her?
Yep.
Wow.
I mean, and there's nobody accepting responsibility for that either. But that really, they caused her death. And very, very likely, Jadekiss is in a similar situation. If she was alive, 2 years before, we know that these girls don't live that long in that world for one reason or another. That most likely could have been the end of her without anybody looking for her.
Oh, that's hard to think about.
And, there's nobody actually doing anything. Two of the investigators that they put on Jadekiss's case there have been 3 since they reopened this. 2 of them have been fired and put on what they call the Brady list for officers that have been untruthful officially. And so, it's really difficult to know what information is good and when it comes to the police, what's going on. I mean, if you have these cops not even being truthful about these really, really emotional cases, how likely are you going to go into it, and try to look for help for your kid, your neighbor's kid, your, whatever.
Okay. Just 1 second. Everyone in the chat, can you guys let me know? Does everyone sound clear? Are you guys hearing Jimmie okay? Because we had somebody say that the sound was a little bit messed up. And so I want to make sure before we continue that, this is all coming through good.
Okay.
Okay, sound is good. We got the thumbs up, so
Yay.
everything is good on our end. I was gonna say, because you sound fine to me, so I
Mhm.
wanted to make sure, though, because sometimes you never know how the buffering and
Exactly.
such works. So, tell me a little bit about any information you've been able to find basically about Jadekiss. Have you
Um,
found anything that like points to her being in the trafficking, outside of this guy that seen her?
Actually, there is little to no information on her before or after this tip. There have been reports of someone looking like Jada being in Louisiana and possibly Las Vegas prior to this tip coming in. Um, and, it's very difficult because there was nothing that ever happened um, to show you if that was truthfully a lead or not. But either way, they weren't following up on any leads. So I guess, at this point, there's not going to be much to learn unless they find her body somewhere, I'm afraid to say. I mean, I really
That
think that you're going to find that that's going
you
to
think
be
she's
the,
no longer with us?
I would hope. I mean, if she's still in that life, that would be such a hard thing to endure.
Mhm.
And for her sake, I hope that she's passed on if that is what happened to her. Um,
Mhm.
the people that we talked about in Miami, they, the one guy obviously was connected with trap houses. He actually is out of jail now on his other charges, so he's free. Um, Another guy that he mentioned being involved is also free. There was another gentleman associated with these two in North Carolina, and we believe that he is in jail still. But uh, when the sheriff's department went, they interviewed him. We know that they talked to these three men, but to what end, no one knows because it's an active investigation, and they aren't sharing anything with the family.
Yeah, her family is being kept completely in the dark.
Absolutely,
And it's sad because it happens with these families, and then they have no idea if police are even looking or putting resources into this absolutely at all. The fact that, they didn't even have the correct date that she was reported missing and then argued about when evidence turned up, like all kinds of different things happened weird in this case. Um,
absolutely,
and it just makes you wonder, like, this is complete and total speculation on my side of things, coming in from the outside looking in based off of the things that went on with the sheriff and different stuff like that. How involved could they possibly be in in disappearing teenage girls? Like, that's
that's
a
a very good
scary,
question.
scary
Yeah.
thought.
Unfortunately, I have found nothing to suggest that is absolutely the case. I have found enough to say that it is most likely some sort of version of that, whether it's just perception by the public or what have you. It's this is going to be something that stains that area for a long time, because you can't explain to a parent why their child has gone missing and you're not doing anything to do anything with them, or with their case. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. And it happens far too often. Far, far too often.
Absolutely does. And um, there is another thing that I had stumbled upon a while back. It's a house that is located in a subdivision of Tiger Point and Gulf Breeze, close to Pensacola Beach, um, of a place called Lodestar, Lodestar Children's Home. It's supposed to be in this little upscale neighborhood, and yet when you look at pictures of it, there's nothing to suggest that anybody's living there. However, the state of Florida says that it is an active company that is doing something with children. They really don't have a good understanding of what the business is, but there also is no outward appearance that there has been or is children there. We've had deputies drive by there checking different things, and this place is still incorporated. It's 2 blocks from the intercoastal waterway, where there are boats and things like that. It really, all the people that are said to work there actually work in Chicago. So just a lot of weird things. The state of Florida doesn't know that this house exists, much less uses it for any kind of children's home. And
I suppose that would be a good cover, though, if people were using it to shelter children temporarily in and out, because then it wouldn't look bad if you, oh, well, this kid was, staying here for this day because of this. Yeah, in this children's home.
It's a completely legitimate cover. Like I said, we've had deputies drive by there daily. They have yet to see anybody there.
Wow.
But it clearly is an active business, and I can't fathom of anything it could be. I mean, we've actually had one deputy go up and check the electrical meters because he was thinking it might be a grow house or something like that. But the meter doesn't seem to be running wildly. That's all we can tell.
Yeah, just like the normal electronics, not anything crazy.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's not. Flying around the
right.
Panhandle, but that's the only thing that we have. We have no neighbors around. I mean, it's a really close neighborhood. Neighbors are on either side. I mean, just a few feet from the front door. No children anywhere to be seen.
Wow. Savage, do you have anything else that you really wanted Jimmie to cover that we're missing here?
Not really. I just wanted her to tell Jada's story and just let everybody know what's going on with the case and what she knows. I think she's covered it pretty well, and I think she's given us more than enough information to kind of see beyond what's being shown.
Well, I hope so. I mean, there's nothing, you have to go by what people are saying on the fringes of these situations because nothing's being documented. And basically having to just gather information and try to figure out if there is something to their investigation or not. And it appears in Jada's that there very much is not anything going on with it, which saddens me for her family because I know they are still fighting a fight just to get some kind of attention.
Yeah, some kind of answers.
Yeah, one way or another. Is this child alive or is she dead? Or, if anybody has any idea of what happened to her, for sure. And that's got to be the most important thing to them.
Absolutely. Yeah, just getting that information and getting, attention to her case for sure. Savage, I wasn't sure if we just lost you or not. Like you got
I had to mute my mic. My door is really loud and I didn't want to bust everybody's eardrums. But yeah, the one that keeps striking me as odd about this is how no one seems to have seen anything. Which is crazy because people are always listening and looking in that neighborhood.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How did no one see anything? It's not like that was a quiet back street or whatever. It's an active neighborhood. People are always outside.
And there was a lot of connection with the family. It has a large extended family that around the grandmother where Jada lived. So you've got a lot of people right there, and nothing or no one seems to have been talked to by the police.
Now there is another thing also. I was under the impression that there was surveillance footage from a government building nearby that nobody bothered to get.
Oh yes, I forgot to mention that. When the day she went missing, not too far from where her grandmother lived, was a federal post office, and there was actually someone saying that they saw her talking to a man in front of that, or within eyeshot of the post office, meaning that maybe a camera caught it, and no one ever approached the post office to get that footage. In fact, Steve Williams with Milton Search and Rescue actually got that footage not too long ago. And he was just absolutely amazed that no one had asked the post office for him. They don't reuse or tape over or destroy. They keep everything forever, I guess, because of terrorist threats or something to that effect. And that was still available. No police ever looked into it.
That's amazing. And they still haven't gone to get it for themselves.
No,
now, I don't have that actual footage, but I do have some video that I'm going to post just showing the perspective of where those cameras are in relation to where Jadekiss lived at the time that she disappeared. And you can clearly see that any investigator worth their salt would have said, hey, you know what? There's a camera right there. I can see it as bright as day. I might need to get that footage.
Just, even 2 years later or 3 months later, it would have been something that it would have been a huge tool that they maybe could follow up on, and nothing. Crickets. That's all there is crickets.
Yep, crickets. But it's not unusual. Like you were saying, Escambia County has a track record when it comes to certain communities, certain issues. They have a definite track record. All you got to do is Google David Morgan and watch a few of his videos.
Yeah,
he was definitely not camera shy by a long shot, and you can get a good insight into his personality and understand better for your own self how he ran his organization. I guess we've had a pretty good show for tonight. I don't want to overdo it. I think we've gotten some really good information out to the people.
Absolutely. And I'd like to get, I can give you some links, like at the sheriff's report when he found out that Jadekiss's grandmother had gone to the news to ask for some kind of an update on the case. Nobody at the sheriff's office was doing anything, so she went to the news, and Morgan retaliated with a video of his own talking about how unreasonable the family was.
Okay, definitely share that to me, and I will post it in the Facebook group for Jadekiss. Guys, in the link to this description, while I'm thinking about it, I will also post to Jadekiss's Facebook group so that you can join there and keep up to date on information on the case if you'd like to.
Absolutely.
All right, Jimmie, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Sleuth, thank you so much for being such a wonderful friend and for jumping in there when I really needed you. I really, really needed you, and I appreciate you so much. You're a godsend. Everybody, I'm going to go ahead and cut this live short tonight. I'm not going to hang out for an hour. I'm sorry, but we got some good information. We got some stuff to think about, some stuff to mull over. Going to post some links so that you can dig into it a little more for yourself, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Good night.